train like an animal, you're disciplined, you eat clean, so you think you're doing everything right. But let me ask you this. Why do your last few weeks of camp always feel like death? Why do you always complain about being sore, especially towards the end? Why do you get more irritable as fight week approaches? Why do you wake up exhausted, even on rest days? Or maybe you don't even notice it. You're so used to feeling drained and sluggish and run down that you think it's normal. You've never even felt what it's like to be at 100% because you've been wrecking yourself for so long that you have no idea what it would even be like to feel better. Better. Welcome back to the Jackie Kaminsky Experience, episode 2, where today we're going to talk about something that might blow your minds, all right? Here's the ugly truth. You are not overtraining, you're undereating. And today we're breaking down why eating too little is the single biggest mistake fighters, and frankly a lot of athletes for that matter, are making, and how fixing it will literally change everything from how you recover, how you cut weight, and how you perform. All right, let's start with the problem. All of you guys are starving yourselves without even realizing it. Let's talk about top things Jackie has heard from working with people that drive her insane. Okay, you want to train 4+ hours a day. Let's even cut that back. You want to train 2-3 hours a day, multiple sessions, Monday through Saturday. Some of y'all crazy people even train on Sundays, 7 days a week, and you only want to eat 1 to 2 meals a day? No. All you do is high intensity exercise, but you're terrified of carbs. You listen to bodybuilders because, yeah, they cut weight, but you think that they do the same exact things you do. No. And then you like to jump on fad diets. I've had fighters tell me that they do carnivore. Makes 0 sense. Why are you doing that? You have 0 carbs in that diet and you need carbs to perform. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Love that. Keto, another big one. They just think, oh yeah, it was on the internet. It was in Men's Fitness magazine. It gives you abs. So we're going to try it. Abs does not equal performance. Sorry, they're great. I love abs. They look great. But yeah, that's not going to help you win your fight. Intermittent fasting. Actually, a really interesting topic. I think we should get into it more in a later episode. I do get asked it a lot. And real quickly, I'm just going to tell you this. Intermittent fasting does have benefits. Okay, so if you are a regular person, I'm not talking to you if you are listening to this podcast to get information about how to be a better athlete. Okay, so from a health perspective, fasting has really great benefits. Okay, it regulates digestion, it regulates your hormones, your sleep, your whole body works on a clock system. So it does help get you on a schedule, which is really great for everything else. Now, why I don't love it for fighters or for any athlete really is that because recovery is the single most important thing when it comes to being an elite level athlete. I don't love it because it's cutting into your recovery, especially if your training windows are taking place during times that you have to be fasting. Now we're losing opportunities to fuel appropriately before those sessions, and we're losing the window of time to fuel after the session, okay? Nutrient timing is key to enhancing performance, so we really want to make sure that we can fuel appropriately before and after those windows. And if your fasting times take place within that, we're just losing that ability, okay? So it's not going to benefit your performance. While it does have health benefits, it's not going to benefit your physical performance. This is why we're here. This is what we're talking about, which is what we're focusing on, okay? That is the key. So again, fasting, love it for health purposes. If it fits in your lifestyle, that's great. For athletes, for my fighters specifically, do not love it, okay? We need all the time to get in for eating because you have all this time that you train, and when you train, you can't eat, or you don't like to, or after you're done training, you're not that hungry because you just trained a lot and you don't have an appetite, or then you want to take a nap because you're tired, okay? So where else are we supposed to fit in the times for you to get an appropriate amount of food if you're already cutting off your eating times? No. Thank you for listening. Okay? And really, here's the biggest thing that I tell all of my athletes, okay? If you treat food like the enemy, it is going to fight you back. Food is a tool and we need to learn how to use it appropriately. You can't perform at your best when your muscles, your brain, and your energy systems are running on empty. So for all of you, especially that are only eating maybe a small breakfast and then dinner, and you're trying to train 3.5 hours, 4 hours every single day, it's not going to work for you, okay? We have to get over this idea that eating more is going to cause you to gain weight. It is not. So let's talk about the science behind this a little bit. What happens when you eat too little, okay? So the biggest thing that's going to occur is something that we call low energy availability. And basically that is a factor of a lot of things, but in the athletic space, it's more because you are training, doing excessive exercise, and not consuming enough food to meet up with those energy demands, okay? So what does that do? Let me tell you. First thing that's going to go is your immune system and your hormones, okay? So what happens when you're not eating enough food, your body now has to be very particular about what it's going to conserve. So we go into like an emergency triage situation. What are the most important things? Your brain, your heart, and your stomach, okay? So we got to keep those things functioning, especially your heart. Oh, well, not even your stomach, your lungs, okay? So brain, heart, lungs, and stomach's up there, right? We need that. Yeah. All major organs, those are going to be prioritized. What's not prioritized? Reproductive function. So when you do not eat enough every single day, you are killing your testosterone. Guys, don't you love testosterone for being strong and having energy? Ladies too, our testosterone levels are not as high as men's, but if we're under eating, we're depressing those values even more. Testosterone is directly related to helping us build muscle and boosting energy levels. So if testosterone is low, your energy is going to be low, and under eating is going to significantly drop those levels, okay? We don't want that. With those hormones, reproductive function shutting down. We do not need to be procreating if we have zero energy in our body. And that is going to be more significant of an effect on women than men. So ladies, biggest indicator that you are under fueling and not giving your body an appropriate amount of nutrition is that your period will go away. Guys, it's a little trickier to, track. For women, that is going to be the first thing that will happen that will indicate to you that something is up, okay? Once reproductive function shuts down, that means the body is not optimized. After that, metabolism. Your body is the most adaptive machine on the planet. So now that we've decreased key hormones that also help us, establish your metabolism, your thyroid hormone, right? Under fueling, your metabolism is going to decrease because your body's now going to reset at a lower level to function appropriately off of that. And that's not good. Okay, that's also going to lead to muscle loss, not fat loss. While yes, you will always lose fat if you're in a calorie deficit, if you are under fueling and overtraining, you are killing your recovery. And that's also going to make it harder to build muscle. If anything, you're going to be burning through it. And last but not least, fighters, you're putting yourself in the worst position for your weight cut. Okay, now you're going to make it 100 times more miserable for yourself because you've already depleted yourself so aggressively during your camp and your body is not getting what it's supposed to. There is no way you're going to recover from that, especially after a day of eating a ton of your weigh-in. And to just put this into perspective for you guys, I'm going to drop the little picture in it here for you. I did an Instagram on a post on this as well. It's data from the UFCPI. They literally followed a fighter. They measured his metabolism when he was out of camp. So they got a regular baseline value. He crash dieted, his entire camp. So over 6 weeks, they measured his metabolism and it dropped by 500 calories. And they measured it for 3 months after the fact. Guess how long it took for his metabolism to recover to baseline after crash dieting for 6 weeks? 3 months. It took all 12 weeks for his 500 calorie drop to return back up to a normal baseline. So under fueling, I know you guys are terrified. You think it's going to add weight to your body, but the reality is that most of you guys aren't even eating your base calorie needs in a day. If you're not even consuming at minimum what your body needs to function at rest, all of those things are going to happen and you're going to put yourself in a really tough predicament. Like I said, you're going to kill your recovery, you're going to kill your energy, you're going to make your weight cut harder, you're going to lose muscle, you're going to ruin your hormones, you're going to ruin your metabolism. And if you're not keeping that in mind, and if you're not even trying to recover appropriately from that, and you're just doing these back-to-back weight cuts, just putting yourself in this horrible state of underfueling, guess what? That's eventually going to lead to permanent damage. And you're going to wonder why, when you're in the fight game for 10 years, why it was super easy in your 20s, and then now in your 30s, you're missing weight every single time, okay? So if you're going to crash diet, you need to focus on the recovery aspect afterwards. But yes, that is what happens when you eat too little. That's just a quick recap, but something to kind of bring awareness to you that undereating is not the answer. So how do we fix that? How do we actually fix the damage? All right. Before even getting into it, like I said, please, you guys, if we are not testing, we are guessing, okay? So please get a body comp. If you have the opportunity, if you're in the UFC, go to the PI, get all of this testing done, use your resources. At minimum, get a body comp test. We can use your muscle mass to kind of put in a calculation to figure out roughly what your metabolism needs are. But if you've chronically crash dieted for camps or for whatever reason your entire life, I would look to get a resting metabolic rate test. You lay down in a bed, all right, get nice and cozy. And then they stick this mask on your face. It measures how much oxygen you breathe in, how much carbon dioxide you breathe out. And you take like a nice nap like that for like 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. Sometimes they take a while. And yeah, you get an actual direct measurement of what your base calorie needs are. Okay. So at minimum, you should never eat below that, because even with simple exercise, like I'm talking about like going for like a walk and doing grocery shopping and, getting the mail or washing your car, just basic daily activities, you're already expending more than that base level. So if you're a high level athlete training, doing very intense sessions more than once a day, trust me, you do not need to be eating less than, most of you should never be eating less than like 1,800 calories a day, okay? Maybe for my girls, it could be 1,600 when we're really having to get closer to camp, but like you shouldn't be eating 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 calorie diets. That's absurd. Okay, when I hear grown men in their 30s that are like, weigh 160 pounds and they're eating like 1,300, 1,400 calorie diets, no wonder you feel like absolute crap all the time. So first things first, get an idea of what your base needs are, and then we can use that. We can put on activity factors. We can get an estimate of roughly how many calories you're burning every day, because the reality is that you do not need to be in an excessive calorie deficit to lose the weight. All the exercise that you're doing, it's creating enough, of a deficit from all of your exercise calorie burn that the actual food deficit does not need to be that much. Okay, so going back, how do we fix this? Okay, how do we undo the damage that has been done? First things first, we need a solid recovery plan. So it's something, I don't love the term, okay, but something that you guys probably have heard about. It's called reverse dieting. So the idea is that we're going to slowly and gradually increase calorie intake over time to restore your metabolism. Now, you can't just inhale, like if you've been doing a whole camp eating 1,400 calories when you really need 2,000 at baseline, you can't stuff your face with like 3,000 calories the week after your fight and think that's restoring your metabolism. That's not what happens. That's what actually makes you gain a shit ton of weight back. And that is coming back in the form of fat, not muscle, because you burned through all your muscle. And guess what? When you get into your next camp, you're wondering why you're fatter and why it's harder to lose weight and why it's harder to cut, because you keep adding more body fat back while you're losing your muscle. Okay, that's not what we want to do. So the idea of reverse dieting is to slowly increase calorie intake over time. And I'm talking like 100 calories, 200 calories a week, okay? The idea is that if we do this slowly, your body can readapt to it. And hopefully the goal, and what I've seen be effective when I do this with my athletes and my clients who I've seen chronically diet their whole lives. Anytime somebody comes to me and they've described that they've been chronically under fueling for most of their career, their fight career, their athletic career, whatever it is that they've done, I always advocate for taking at least 3 months, right? The 12 weeks to restore the metabolism. And the idea is that because we are adding things slowly, the body is able to recalibrate. And the goal, and what I've seen actually, is that I've been able to double, almost triple calorie intake of my clients without them gaining weight. So the goal would be whatever your current weight is when we start, we're going to increase your intake over the time for however much time we have. Like I said, 12 weeks is really optimal, but if all we can get is a month, we're going to do a month. It's better than nothing. And I've been able, like I said, to double, triple calorie intake, and they have not put on any weight. Their weight stayed exactly the same. If anything, maybe you see fluctuation 1 to 2 pounds, but the goal is to increase intake while maintaining your weight the entire time. Second part, how to fix that damage. Number 2, carbs are your friend, guys. They're so good for you. Please eat them, okay? Carbs are the body's preferred fuel source for energy. It is so easy to break down. It is so easy to utilize. Literally, only at high intensity exercise, your body can only function off of carbs. I'm like Ryan Gosling in his stuntman movie. You need carbs. Okay, you need them. But strategic fueling is necessary. So that's why we want to consume carbs before exercise primarily, because then your body's going to burn them off. You don't have a chance to store them for later. We want a little bit for that recovery process. We want those muscles to heal. And we do want something in the take for our next session if we're going to do it. So carbs are very important for not only having energy and performing, but for recovering well. So again, it's all about strategic management, right? We don't want to overload a ton of carbs, especially when we're doing that reverse dieting process, but we want to intake them strategically. And of course, we want to be getting good sources too. We're getting our carbs from whole foods, potatoes, fruits, whole grains. It's going to be way better than if you're getting them from like candy bars and pizza and fast food, okay? All right, meal timing matters. I'm going to say that again. Meal timing matters. And it's more in the sense that, and this is both what I've found to be the most successful in my practice with my clients, also what I've seen consistent in research. And it's not that we want to feed regularly to keep the metabolism going. We want to feed regularly with high protein meals to keep your body in a state of positive protein balance. Not only that, I think there is evidence to show it does regulate hunger hormones. Personally, with my clients, personally, even with myself, I've always advocated and have always put all of my athletes on eating schedules where they're consuming their meals roughly every 3 or 4 hours. Now, granted that I'm not factoring in snacks between training times, like, you know, maybe they eat breakfast at 8 a.m. and then they have a pre-workout like right at 10 before they train. That's different. But ideally, every 3 or 4 hours is the goal. And that I've seen to regulate appetite a lot better. So it's easier to control your intake over the course of the day. I mean, technically speaking, if you're dosing that every 3 or 4 hours, you are creating some stability in your glucose levels over the day. Of course, this is all based on meal composition, making sure we have a healthy meal composition of good amount of protein, a complex carb, fruit or a vegetable, and everything's being mixed together. We're not spiking your sugar super high because, you know, how people say, oh, I ate a bowl of pasta and I got really tired after it. Yeah, it's because you ate like straight sugar and then your sugars went up super high and then they dropped and then you crash, and it's a thing. So meal composition, also very important, but timing meals every 3 or 4 hours, I've just seen to be the best practices. But the main thing is that we are protein pacing. So we are making sure that we're getting rich doses, really now at this point closer to 40 grams of protein every 3 or 4 hours. And that keeps your state in a positive protein balance, state of building, right? It's helping keep you full, so it reduces cravings, okay? If you are craving a ton of sugar, it usually means that you're under eating, you're not eating enough protein, okay? So a big indicator. Next, we talked about it in the last episode, smart weight management. Yes. How to avoid feeling miserable from a poor diet and underfueling is healthy weight management year round. So you're not having to force yourself into periods where you have to undergo really drastic cuts or calorie restriction during a long time just to make the weight, okay? So emphasizing it again, because it'll save you a lot of trouble and a lot of misery, is be smart about managing your weight. Yeah, sure, after your fight, because maybe towards the end we did have to be a little restrictive. We couldn't eat all our favorite desserts and candy. If you're working with me, we can find a way to work it in. You know what I'm saying? But yes, give yourself a week, enjoy yourself. But after that, get back on it. Stay active, lightly active during that week. Again, depending on if you were significantly injured or not. Again, the damage after a fight always dictates everything. But that post-fight recovery is super important. Don't let yourself go crazy. Like I said, take a week. Have 1 or 2 days if you're really going crazy with the meals. Second day after, you're craving Chick-fil-A, go get it. Give yourself like 2 days really being awful max. You can't do that much damage in 2 days over a whole week, maybe. And then, like I said, if you're able to stay lightly active, incorporate healthy foods back in your diet. You don't need to be as restrictive, but manage it, okay? Don't go crazy, because that's how you're going to add on all of that body fat back, and that's what we want to avoid. Last but not least, fueling for performance, not aesthetics. So stop listening to bodybuilders if you're a fighter. They are dieting for an aesthetic, and they're very extreme with it. They are not required to perform at a high level like you are on a daily basis, not even on competition day. They just gotta flex their ass off, literally. Their diets are not meant to help you perform. You have to always be aware of what you are sacrificing or what you are doing that might be sacrificing your performance. So not eating the right foods at the right time, not eating the right composition of foods, these can all have a really big effect on you. Not eating enough is going to affect your performance, okay? Aesthetics are great. Like I said, love abs, love muscles. They look great, but that's not what's going to help you win, is by looking a certain way. So if you are a high-level athlete, aesthetics is not performance. Some of the best fighters in the world do not have the best bodies, okay? They're a little pudge, all right? I think Max Holloway is a great example. Not that he's pudge, but man isn't shredded. He's not got like a full-on 16-pack going on and is 3% body fat. Aesthetics does not equal performance, so something to keep in mind. The bottom line, you might think that you're being disciplined by eating less, but the reality is that your diet is leaving you drained, sluggish, and struggling to make weight. And that's not discipline. It's a bad game plan. And if you need a better game plan, you can go to my website. The link will be in this page in the bio. I will add it somewhere here in this video if I figure out how to do that. I have 6-week meal plans that are based on weight class and gender, and it is literally spelled out for you what to eat every single day from 6 weeks out all the way up through fight week to perform at your best, feel your best, and make weight easily. So make sure to check that out if you need a proper game plan, or reach out to work with me one-on-one. We can fix all your problems, make sure you're eating way more, which literally just had 2 boxers at Golden Gloves. They both pretty much woke up on weight every single day. They didn't even have to cut weight. And over the time I worked with them for their camps, one guy was a month, another guy we worked together for 3 months, I doubled their calorie intake throughout their entire camp, and they still made weight. So it is possible to eat more, feel better, perform better, and have a solid game plan. And I have just that with my meal plans. So make sure to check those out. All right, and that's wrapping things up for today. But before you go, if you think feeling like death during camp is the worst thing ever, just wait until next week's episode when we talk about the horror stories that I have seen in the weight cut game. And not only me, my special guest, the first one of the Jackie Kaminsky experience that I'm bringing on. If you guys do not know this man, you will meet him next week and you better learn all about him. He is the best of the best. He has been my biggest supporter, my biggest advocate, my biggest mentor since I've started. He is absolutely incredible. And yeah, we're going to share some insane weight cut stories with you guys next week, just to kind of give you some of the experience. So that's it for today's episode. If this hit home for you, if you're sick of feeling weak, tired, or barely surviving weight cuts, then it's time to do something different. I've put together everything you need, like I said, in my meal plans. Go check it out. The link is in the bio. Make sure to like this page, subscribe to the channel, share with all your friends, and I'll see you guys next week.